Flanders, Eurometropolis, Lille, bit of France, bit of Belgium, Ghent, Bruges and Arras you could include in the greater Eurometropolis. You can compare it to Manchester a little bit, but the style has been run down and then rejuvenated.
Люблю свою жену, люблю свою собаку. Я всего на свете член, почти что супермен, но редко лезу в драку. Знает весь двор мой приговор, слуга народа. У меня почти все есть, достоинство и честь, и даже крики «Браво!». Персональный самолет мне выделил народ, а что, имею право на животу, вот тут набью тату, слуга народа.
Flanders is part of Belgium, the lower half is Wallonia. The French-speaking Walloons are closest to Lille, obviously. Dutch-speaking Flanders has Ghent, Bruges, Antwerp. And then there's the city-state of Bruxelles, je t'aime, Bruxelles, je t'aime, oh. In the middle, this is Belgium. Lille isn't part of Belgium, it's part of France. Feudal times divided enclaves up between the two in two different territories, and they have been part of Netherlands and part of France entirely at different times.
Belgium has a lot, and I repeat, a lot of weird territorial claims and boundaries. For one, there are technically 5 German exclaves hidden right along the border of the Liège province in East Belgium. However, these exclaves are only separated from mainland Germany from a Belgian train track, the Vennbahn, which is no longer in use. This means that you can be in Germany and only have 10 meters between you and Belgium between you go back into Germany. The smallest of these German exclaves is just a small house near the German town of Kosen with a front yard less than 2 hectares in area. Then you reach the ever-so-confusing town of Barelnassa and Barelhertog, in which there are 22 Belgian enclaves in the Netherlands and 8 Dutch enclaves in Belgium, 7 of which are counter-enclaves, or a part of the Netherlands in Belgium in the Netherlands. These borders at first make no sense. Apparently, they cross awkwardly through streets, buildings, restaurants, stores, and even houses. A person can literally wake up in one country and shower in the other. The rule is, whatever side your front door is on is the country that you pay your taxes to. The reason why it's so confusing is because, long story short, there was a guy ruling the area called Henry I, Duke of Brabant, who gave parcels of land to Godfrey II of Schoten, who ruled the area to the east, in an attempt to build an alliance so that his enemy Dirk VII wouldn't expand his influence. Long story short, Henry's land became Belgium, and Godfrey's land became the Netherlands. To this day, the two countries have stayed true to Godfrey and Henry's agreements, and have split the land exactly how they did. But wait, we're not done just yet! Finally, you have the confusing Lys Rivière Canalari River in the border between the Walloon province of Hainaut and France. Starting in the town of Hallou in France, this river zigzags for about 26 kilometers with multiple river islets and land pieces that act as penne enclaves until it all stops in the town of Armentières. Each side has an equal 7 enclaves each along the river. Okay, now
shining star is the hope every wise man from on this holiday.
Micro-enclaves we might go into later. It's a bit like the 3-field system. You get a field in a different area just so you've got your equal share of the quality. Subdividing different burgages now means that individual houses and even rooms next door to each other might be in different enclaves and so different regions. Not really very close to a border even. But thankfully the peace of Europe has enabled these to be largely as important as a county. Some hangovers of feudal times, broadly solved for centuries, really make a bit of a nonsense of the Northern Ireland Brexit belittling of customs law that Europe but for now, without the scanning technology that Antwerp is installing, works on bulk and 10% waste. Antwerp a junior port to Rotterdam with noisy port, but Dutch driven sailing closer to the wind. Dutch-speaking provincial states
Quand je veux rentrer chez moi, quand le ciel gris est la pluie me manque, je vais mieux quand je te vois. Les villes sont belles, mais moi je ne pense qu'à toi. Quand mon pays et ma ville me manquent, moi je ne t'oublie pas. On n'a pas la plus longue de toutes les histoires. On n'a pas toujours gagné. Et d'habitude, j'ai l'attitude, même si c'est dur, de garder l'espoir. Quand on n'est pas les premiers, les paroles flagées, Saint-Gilles, la gueule. À qui je dois mon nom? Bruxelles, je t'aime. Tu m'avais manqué. Bruxelles, je t'aime. Bruxelles, je t'aime. Tu m'as préféré. Bruxelles, je t'aime. Bruxelles, je t'aime. Tu m'avais manqué. T'es la plus belle. Oui, t'es la plus belle.
Dutch invention of watches gave them advantage in long-distance navigating, calculating latitude and longitude. Maritime ships now are registered wherever offers the cheapest tax. Britain caused trouble by making only British goods allowed to travel in British ships, led to a war between the Dutch provincial states and Britain. Just 20,000 soldiers installed a Orange Queen in Britain. The Dutch provincial states before that had been Iberian, Portuguese, Spanish. The best of, because it had such luxury manufacturing and good education. Squabbled over by France, Germany, and Britain was a friend and an enemy at different times to suit. Historically, the Dutch provincial states had dominated the Baltic trade, then worldwide. I am hoping that you can draw parallels here. I'll mention subconscious bias here. I think British politicians feel a little bit embattled, a bit like the Dutch provincial estates of the past, the Netherlands, plural, that had such wealth that it could make land out of sea. Everyone wants a bit of Britain, they sort of think now. Everyone wants a bit of tax haven, the British Caribbean perhaps being the front line. But companies are going to Ireland now because it's a respectable way of paying less taxes rather than a subterfuge British way of paying less taxes. And being part of Europe is an attractive thing. If Google Maps takes you through World War I battlefield sites. These strange little enclaves have survived 2 world wars. If GMaps directs you through an eco route through Germany to get to the Alps, apply a bit of common sense. The only eco route about it is that you're going high speed, so you're not polluting. You're going much further using much more fuel. It's a political thing. I'm giving you some food for thought further back in time, delivering something quirky, because myself for one, I tire of driving through the World War I battlefield trenches route. It's depressing, and quite rightly so. What dominates your mind? We're on a route to the Alps from Britain to Chamonix, Tarentaise Valley, but we're taking a slightly scenic route through Doubs, La Haine, and then skirting around the almost borderless Swiss Geneva. A more rural area, so quieter roads, but still very straight and scenic roads. Doubs, a river. La Haine, a river. First two numbers, postcode, different areas of France. Neighbours, French Comte, Bourgogne, but historically the pirate area of the Bourgogne Central. In Burgundy, traditionally administrating the Wallonia area. The rural roads, there's a few parallel ones from Colmar, close to Germany, just above Switzerland, Black Forest, parallel to the northern southwest border of Switzerland, toward Geneva. We'll then be skirting, literally driving along the border, they don't notice it, on the southern border of Geneva, and then to Annecy, where we fork to either Chamonix Valley, much quieter, much more well-known, more tourists that are doing nothing to do with skiing, or to the Tarentaise Valley, much more intense, quality, on-piste. It may seem like I'm mixing it up and I'm confusing with complexity, or confused, but Ukraine's problem is already solved centuries ago in so many different ways. Connotations. Politicians are saying things like the cost of living crisis is weeding out businesses that were able to hang on too long during the long period of low interest rates, completely forgetting the decade of stagnation after the global financial crisis. And they're saying businesses, but they're talking about households, weeding out households. Get on to your politician and solve what they are designing and extending beyond what's necessary. Stalemates, trench warfare. Also something becomes less permanent. Crimea reversed to pre-Victorian levels. Europeanising Russia as far as the Urals, which isn't a bad idea actually. Complications bring peace and contentment, and peace and prosperity brings administrative ease. Sure, America wants divide and rule in Europe. Enclaves and influence is the way your politicians can proceed, and your cost of living will return to some sanity, rather than a greed of land grab that will alienate subtle influence and cooperation, once wounds have been licked. It may seem like I'm mixing it up and I'm confusing with complexity, or confused, but Ukraine's problem is already solved centuries ago in so many different ways. Connotations. Politicians are saying things like the cost of living crisis is weeding out businesses that were able to hang on too long during the long period of low interest rates, completely forgetting the decade of stagnation after the global financial crisis. And they're saying businesses, but they're talking about households, weeding out households. Get on to your politician and solve what they are designing and extending beyond what's necessary. Stalemates, trench warfare, also something becomes less permanent. Crimea reversed to pre-Victorian levels, Europeanising Russia as far as the Urals, which isn't a bad idea. Complications bring peace and contentment, and peace and prosperity brings administrative ease. Sure, America wants divide and rule in Europe. Enclaves of influence is the way your politicians can proceed.